The arrival. Sarah Chen stood at the entrance of the Galactic Science Station, her eyes wide with a mix of awe and nervousness. This was the moment she had been waiting for, her first mission as a xenobiologist. The station was a gleaming marvel of technology, floating gracefully within a nebula, its surfaces glinting with silver and blue light. As the first human to be assigned to this prestigious research facility, Sarah couldn't shake the weight of expectation. She had heard the rumors. Many advanced species saw humanity as a curiosity, at best, and a threat, at worst. Inside the station, it felt as though the air itself was alive with the hum of activity. Holographic displays flickered, and researchers from a wide array of species worked side by side. The alien researchers, with their luminous skin and otherworldly features, were a constant reminder of how small and young humanity seemed in the vastness of space. "Do not embarrass Earth," Sarah whispered to herself, repeating her supervisor's words like a mantra. Earth had only just joined the galactic community, and humanity's reputation was still fragile. As she walked down the gleaming corridor, Sarah couldn't help but notice the diversity of species around her. Some resembled creatures she had only seen in science fiction movies, while others were completely unrecognizable. But there was one that caught her attention, a figure floating gracefully among the holographic data, seemingly made entirely of translucent crystal. Her skin shimmered with an ethereal blue glow, and her movements were fluid, almost otherworldly. "Greetings, human scientist Chen." The figure's voice chimed, clear and melodic, as though it was the ringing of delicate bells. "I am senior researcher Zara of the Lumini Collective. Welcome to our xenobiology department." Sarah's breath caught in her throat. The Lumini were a species of immense beauty and intelligence, but they were also one of the most secretive and powerful factions in the galaxy. To meet one in person was both an honor and an overwhelming challenge. "Thank you for having me, senior researcher," Sarah replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "Please call me Sarah." Zara's translucent form shifted slightly as she glided closer, her crystal features reflecting the lab's lights in a mesmerizing dance of colors. "Sarah," she repeated, the name flowing from her lips like music. "Your species fascinates me. You are the first human I have met in person. I must say, your ingenuity in space travel is most impressive." Sarah felt a swell of pride. Despite humanity's young status in the galactic community, it was moments like this that made her feel like humanity had a place among the stars. The experiment. The station's xenobiology lab was a marvel of technological design. Holographic displays projected data in mid-air, while advanced biological scanning devices hummed softly in the background. Sarah felt both a sense of awe and nervousness as she entered the sterile, yet strangely comforting environment. Zara had guided her here, and the Lumini researcher had been nothing short of a gracious host. Her crystal body shimmered with each movement, her form reflecting the soft blue glow of the lab's lights. As Sarah stood by the large biological containment chamber, she marveled at the alien life forms housed inside. Some were translucent, like Zara herself, while others were entirely different, complex organisms from across the galaxy, each one unique in shape and structure. Sarah couldn't help but think that, in some ways, the laboratory mirrored the galaxy itself, a vast expanse filled with infinite diversity, with every species offering its own contributions to the broader understanding of life. "Sarah, do you ever wonder how much we don't know?" Zara's voice brought Sarah back to the present. Sarah turned to look at her. Zara was studying a holographic display of a newly discovered microorganism. Her crystalline skin seemed to hum with energy as she analyzed the data, her emotions flickering like waves across her body's surface. "I do," Sarah admitted, stepping closer to her. "It feels like there's so much we still don't understand about life, even here in this station." Zara's ethereal eyes glowed softly, her gaze focused on Sarah with a mixture of admiration and curiosity. "Your species. You seem so young in comparison to the ancient civilizations of the galaxy, yet your curiosity, your drive to explore, is unmatched." "It is inspiring." Sarah smiled, feeling the weight of Zara's words. Humans had always been driven by an innate desire to explore, to discover. It was that same drive that had pushed humanity to the stars, to become a part of the galactic community. But sometimes, Sarah wondered if that same drive could also be humanity's greatest weakness. She knew that their relatively recent entrance into the galactic fold had made them the subject of scrutiny. Many advanced species saw humans as impulsive, unrefined, and too quick to act without fully understanding the consequences. It was a perception that Sarah had encountered time and time again, but she also knew that there was more to humanity than just that. Maybe we're young, Zara, Sarah said thoughtfully, but that's also what makes us resilient. We don't have the same fears or the same limitations that other species might have. We act, even when we don't know what's on the other side. Zara's bioluminescence flared in a brilliant burst of light, a sign of her excitement. Ah, yes, it is that very trait that I find fascinating. Your species has the ability to think in ways that others might not, to break free from established norms, and to create new paths where none existed before. It is a quality that many of the older species have lost, but I believe it is what will ultimately define humanity's place in the galaxy. Sarah was silent for a moment, processing Zara's words. It was hard not to feel a swell of pride, knowing that the Lumini, themselves a highly advanced race, recognized something special in humanity. It was the kind of recognition that Sarah longed for, not just for herself, but for her entire species. "Thank you, Zara," she said softly. "That means a lot coming from you." Zara's laughter rang out, light and melodic. "I am merely speaking the truth, Sarah. You should not sell your species short." The two of them continued to work late into the night, analyzing the newly discovered microorganisms. Sarah was amazed by how much she was learning from Zara. Her methods of analysis were nothing short of brilliant, combining intuition with scientific rigor in a way that Sarah had never seen before. The Lumini had a deep understanding of biological processes, and yet their approach was entirely different from anything Sarah had been taught back on Earth. As they worked, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of camaraderie growing between them. They were from two entirely different worlds, yet here they were, united by a shared love of discovery. Sarah had always been a curious person, but her time with Zara was pushing her to expand her thinking in ways she hadn't anticipated. Zara had a way of challenging her assumptions, of making her look at the universe through a different lens. "Sarah," Zara said suddenly, her voice cutting through Sarah's thoughts. "I've been thinking, would you be willing to try something?" Sarah looked up, intrigued. "What do you mean?" "I have a theory," Zara continued, her voice filled with excitement. "I believe that by studying the bioluminescence of different species, we can unlock a deeper understanding of how emotions are transmitted across the galaxy. If we could somehow analyze the way that light pulses in reaction to stimuli, we might be able to map emotional responses in a way that transcends language barriers. It could revolutionize interspecies communication." Sarah's heart raced. It was a groundbreaking idea, one that could potentially change the way different species interacted with each other. The ability to understand emotions without the need for words could bridge the gaps between cultures, between entire civilizations. It was the kind of idea that could have far-reaching implications. "That sounds incredible, Zara," Sarah said, her voice filled with awe. "But how do we even begin?" Zara's crystalline body pulsed with excitement. "I believe the first step is to create a baseline measurement of your species' emotional responses. We could study how humans react to different stimuli, both positive and negative, and record the changes in your bioluminescence. If we can establish a baseline, we can compare it to other species. It will require careful analysis, but I believe it is possible." Sarah was immediately on board. This was exactly the kind of challenge she had been hoping for. It was ambitious, yes, but it was also a perfect opportunity to showcase humanity's ingenuity and determination. Over the next few weeks, Sarah and Zara worked tirelessly on the project. They conducted experiments, analyzed data, and exchanged ideas. The work was intense, but Sarah found herself more and more drawn to Zara's brilliance. The Lumini's capacity for innovation was unmatched, but it was Zara's openness to new ideas that inspired Sarah the most. She had never worked with someone so willing to push the boundaries of science, someone who saw possibilities where others saw limitations. One day, as Sarah was reviewing the results of their latest experiment, Zara approached her with a thoughtful expression. "I've been thinking about our work," Zara said slowly, "and I've realized something. Your species, you're not just curious, you're incredibly adaptable. I have seen you change in ways that I did not expect. Where other species might have faltered, you have thrived." Sarah looked up from her datapad, surprised by the intensity of Zara's words. "What do you mean?" "You've already proven yourself capable of great feats," Zara continued. "But the real potential of humanity lies not just in your intelligence or your drive, but in your ability to adapt to new circumstances, to learn from mistakes and grow stronger. It is a quality that I believe will make your species a true force in the galaxy." Sarah's heart swelled with pride as she listened to Zara. For the first time, she felt that her species wasn't just surviving in the galaxy, they were becoming something truly extraordinary. It was a realization that filled her with hope for the future and a renewed sense of purpose. As the days passed and their experiments continued, Sarah's respect for Zara only deepened. The two of them were no longer just colleagues. They were friends, allies in a shared mission to understand the universe and their place within it. And as they looked toward the future, Sarah knew that this was only the beginning of their journey. Together, they would unlock the secrets of the galaxy, one discovery at a time. The challenge. As Sarah and Zara's work continued in the lab, the anticipation for the upcoming mission grew. News from the station's command center had arrived. An energy anomaly had been detected in a remote part of the galaxy, a strange signal emanating from a cluster of uncharted asteroids. This wasn't just any ordinary discovery. The nature of the energy pulse was unlike anything registered before. It suggested that there might be a powerful force hidden in the depths of the asteroid field, possibly a relic of an ancient civilization or something far more dangerous. Sarah felt a twinge of excitement and dread. Her heart raced as she thought about what lay ahead. The mission was risky. No one knew what they might encounter, but it was an opportunity that only came once in a lifetime. As the first human xenobiologist to be assigned to this station, Sarah knew that her success or failure on this mission would shape humanity's future role in the galactic community. "I've been reviewing the data, Sarah," Zara said, breaking Sarah's thoughts. "The energy pulse we're detecting is not consistent with any known energy signatures. It's almost as if the energy is being manipulated, redirected somehow." Sarah nodded, her mind racing. The idea that something, or someone, was controlling this energy source was both thrilling and terrifying. If they weren't careful, they might be walking into the middle of something much larger than they anticipated. "You're right, it's not natural," Sarah said, her voice steady but with an edge of uncertainty. "But if we don't investigate it, we might never understand what it is. What if it's the key to unlocking the mysteries of the galaxy, or even humanity's future?" Zara's glowing form flickered slightly, her bioluminescence pulsing with intensity. "Indeed, but it is also a challenge. We have to be cautious. There are forces in this galaxy that we do not yet comprehend, and those forces sometimes are not friendly." Sarah took a deep breath. Zara was right. They were venturing into uncharted territory, and the unknown was always fraught with danger. Yet Sarah's curiosity burned brighter than any fear. She had spent her entire life learning, studying, and exploring, but this mission was different. This was not just about data, it was about humanity's survival, its place among the stars. "You've got a point," Sarah replied, her resolve solidifying. "But we'll figure it out together. We have to." Zara's luminescent form seemed to soften, a flicker of what Sarah could only describe as affection in the way her light shimmered. Together, Zara agreed, her voice resonating with quiet strength. The mission began the following day. The station's fleet of research vessels was ready and Sarah, alongside Zara, boarded the shuttle that would take them to the asteroid field. The journey was short but tense. As the shuttle glided through the vast expanse of space, Sarah's mind wandered, thinking about the potential risks ahead. She was determined to protect humanity, But this was a mission that could change everything. The asteroid field loomed ahead, a cluster of massive rocks spinning slowly through the void. The energy pulse that had been detected was faint but persistent, like a heartbeat coming from the depths of the field. As they approached the source, the ship's sensors began to pick up even more anomalies, signals that seemed to be bouncing off the asteroids, creating an intricate pattern that made no sense. "We're getting closer," Sarah said, her voice tight with anticipation. "The signal's becoming stronger. There's definitely something out there." Zara stood by her side, her crystalline form glowing softly as she analyzed the readings. The energy signature is coming from a larger asteroid, a dark mass in the center of the field. But the patterns we're seeing don't match anything in our records. It's almost as if it's being masked. Sarah furrowed her brow. "Masked?" Zara nodded. "Yes. Whoever or whatever is behind this is hiding its true form. I suspect that whatever we're about to encounter is not what it appears to be." A chill ran down Sarah's spine. Her training told her to expect the unexpected, but she had never anticipated this level of uncertainty. Whatever was waiting for them in the heart of the asteroid field could be something completely foreign and potentially hostile. The shuttle slowly approached the dark mass that Zara had identified as the source of the signal. As they drew closer, Sarah could see a strange structure embedded in the asteroid, a massive alien construct that seemed to pulse with energy. It was shaped like a jagged tower, its surface a mix of organic and metallic materials, and it seemed to be growing out of the asteroid itself. "What in the galaxy is that?" Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible as she gazed in awe at the sight before them. Zara's voice was calm, but filled with awe. "I have never seen anything like it. It's not like any technology we've encountered before." The ship's sensors were scrambling, trying to make sense of the energy readings. It was as if the structure itself was interfering with their instruments, creating interference that prevented them from getting clear readings. "We need to land," Sarah said, her voice firm. "We have to get closer to analyze it." Zara hesitated for a moment but then nodded. "Agreed, but we must remain cautious. There is much we do not know about this place." As the shuttle descended toward the surface of the asteroid, Sarah felt a wave of excitement mixed with unease. This was it, the moment when everything they had worked for would either pay off or unravel before their eyes. As the shuttle touched down on the rocky surface, the energy signature grew stronger, almost as if the structure was calling to them. Sarah and Zara suited up in their spacesuits, the weight of the unknown pressing heavily on them. They stepped out onto the rocky surface of the asteroid, the gravity weaker than on Earth, but enough to make walking challenging. The air was thin, and the harsh light of distant stars cast long shadows across the barren landscape. "Let's go," Sarah said, her voice filled with determination. The two of them began walking toward the alien structure. As they drew closer, the ground beneath their feet began to hum with energy, resonating in a way that sent vibrations through Sarah's body. It was as if the entire asteroid was alive, and the structure at its center was its heart. When they finally reached the base of the tower, they could see strange markings etched into its surface, glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. Sarah knelt down to examine them, her gloved fingers tracing the intricate patterns. "What do you think they mean?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Zara leaned in, her bioluminescence pulsing with soft intensity as she studied the symbols. "I believe these are some form of communication, but I cannot decipher them. The language is unlike anything I've encountered. It could be an ancient dialect, or perhaps a new form of expression." Sarah stood up, her eyes scanning the area. The eerie silence of space surrounded them, broken only by the hum of the energy beneath their feet. As they continued to explore the structure, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. It was a subtle sensation, like eyes lingering on them from the darkness, but it was there, nonetheless. And then, as if to confirm her unease, a deep rumble echoed through the structure, and a door, made of the same strange material as the rest of the tower, slowly began to open. The entrance revealed a dark, hollow space within. The air inside was thick and stagnant, but it didn't feel empty. Something was waiting for them. "We're going in," Sarah said, her voice steady despite the unease bubbling inside her. Zara nodded, her bioluminescence flickering. Be ready, Sarah. I sense a presence within this place. We are no longer just explorers. We are intruders. As they stepped inside, the door closed silently behind them. The darkness enveloped them, and for the first time in a long while, Sarah Chen felt the weight of true uncertainty. What had they just unleashed? The unknown. The door to the alien structure slid closed behind Sarah and Zara with a soft, almost imperceptible hiss. The air inside was thin, heavy with an ancient, almost forgotten scent. A mix of dust, metal, and something else that Sarah couldn't quite place. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the soft hum of Zara's bioluminescent body and the occasional clinking of their boots on the rocky floor. The interior of the tower was vast, its walls curved and lined with dark, smooth materials that shimmered faintly in the dim light. Unlike the sterile, high-tech environment of the Galactic Research Station, this place felt as though it had been untouched by time, existing in a forgotten corner of the galaxy. The air was thick with mystery. Zara, ever the curious one, floated ahead, her form barely visible in the shadows, her light reflecting off the strange surface of the walls. Sarah followed closely behind, her pulse quickening with every step. She had been on dangerous missions before, but nothing like this. They were on the edge of something monumental, and the weight of that realization made the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. Do you feel it? Sarah asked, her voice low, barely above a whisper. Zara's light flickered slightly, the Lumini's expression unreadable, yet there was a shift in the air, a tangible sense of unease that settled between them. Yes, there is something here, something ancient. We must tread carefully. Sarah nodded, though her heart was racing with the mix of excitement and fear. They were not just walking into the unknown. They were standing on the threshold of something that could change everything. The very existence of this structure suggested that an incredibly advanced civilization had once inhabited this place. But why had it been abandoned, and what force had left it in such a state? The hallway stretched ahead, its curvature making it impossible to see more than a few meters ahead. Strange symbols were etched into the walls, glowing faintly in the low light, their meaning still unclear. Sarah leaned forward, studying them closely. They were intricate, almost as if they were alive, shifting in patterns she couldn't fully understand. These symbols, she murmured, her fingers tracing the air above the markings. They're not like any known writing system. I've never seen anything quite like it. Zara floated closer, her form shimmering with a soft glow, her bioluminescence dancing with curiosity. I believe they are not a language in the traditional sense, Sarah. They are a form of expression, perhaps a way to communicate ideas or emotions without words. It could be a form of art, or it could be a warning. A sudden shudder ran through the walls, a deep, low vibration that sent ripples through the air. Sarah froze, her breath catching in her throat. The vibration was unlike anything she had felt before, and for a moment, she wondered if they had made a grave mistake by entering the structure. What was that? Sarah asked, her voice barely audible. I do not know, Zara replied, her light flickering with increased intensity. But I feel we are not alone. Before Sarah could respond, the sound of distant footsteps echoed in the darkness. They were slow, deliberate, like the heavy footsteps of a creature or a presence that was far older and more powerful than anything they had encountered. The footsteps grew louder, closer, and then, out of the shadows, emerged a figure. It wasn't humanoid, nor was it a creature she could readily recognize. The being was massive, its form cloaked in shadows, with an angular shape that seemed to distort as it moved. Its body was made of the same material as the walls, a strange, shimmering substance that shifted in the dim light. Its face, or what could be interpreted as its face, was a series of interconnected symbols that glowed faintly, shifting like the markings on the walls. Sarah's heart raced as she instinctively stepped back, her hand hovering over the weapon holstered at her side, though she knew it would be useless against whatever this being was. It spoke, its voice not a sound, but a feeling, a wave of emotion that flooded Sarah's mind. You should not have come, it said, the words resonating with a power that made the very air seem to vibrate. Its tone was neither hostile nor welcoming, but something far more foreboding. It was a warning, one that felt as though it was centuries in the making. Zara's light flickered brightly, and she moved protectively in front of Sarah, her bioluminescence pulsing with calm confidence. "We mean no harm," Zara responded, her voice soft but firm. "We are explorers, seeking knowledge. We only wish to understand." The figure tilted its head, the shifting symbols on its face glowing more intensely. "Understanding comes with a price," it said, its voice echoing in Sarah's mind. "You have awakened something ancient, something that should have stayed forgotten." A cold shiver ran down Sarah's spine. Whatever this being was, it wasn't just a protector of the structure, it was its keeper, and it clearly didn't want them here. "We only seek knowledge," Sarah repeated, her voice steady, though her heart pounded in her chest. "We are not here to disturb you. We are here to learn." For a long moment, there was silence. The being seemed to regard them with an intelligence far beyond anything Sarah had ever encountered. She felt its presence more than she saw it, as if it was reaching into her mind, probing her thoughts, evaluating her intentions. Finally, it spoke again, the words coming with a weight that felt like the pressure of the universe itself. "If you wish to understand, you must prove yourselves worthy." Before Sarah could respond, the walls around them shifted. The ground trembled once more, and the symbols on the walls glowed brighter, casting long shadows across the chamber. The air grew thick with energy, a crackling sensation that made the hairs on Sarah's arms stand on end. Zara's bioluminescence flickered as she floated forward, her voice filled with determination. "What must we do?" The being's symbols seemed to pulse with a rhythmic intensity. "You will face the trial of the keepers," it declared. "Only those who endure it will be allowed to know the secrets hidden within this place. Fail, and you will be lost to time, forgotten as the others before you." Sarah's heart pounded in her chest. The trial of the keepers. It was clear that whatever lay ahead would not be easy, and failure could mean more than just physical harm. It could mean losing everything they had worked for. But Sarah's resolve only hardened. She had come this far, and there was no turning back now. Whatever this trial was, they would face it, together. "Then we will face the trial," Sarah said, her voice unwavering. "We are ready." Zara's glowing form pulsed brighter, signaling her agreement. "We will not back down. We will prove ourselves worthy." The figure slowly began to fade into the shadows, its voice now a whisper in the air. "Then, let the trial begin." As the last of the figure's form vanished, the walls around them trembled once more. The very air seemed to shift, and a new presence filled the space, one far more intense, far more ancient. The trial had begun, and Sarah and Zara had no choice but to face whatever came next. The secrets within. The air inside the alien structure had changed. The atmosphere was thicker now, almost as if the very essence of the place had begun to shift. Sarah's breath came in short bursts, and she could feel the pressure of the trial weighing heavily upon her. Zara floated silently beside her, her body glowing more brightly in the oppressive darkness, as though her light was the only thing holding back the shadow that seemed to close in around them. The trial had begun. The voice of the mysterious being echoed in Sarah's mind, warning them of the dangers they would face. She knew they had no choice but to continue. Turning back was not an option. She and Zara had already crossed the threshold, and the weight of their purpose now guided every step. The walls around them began to shift, the smooth, organic material pulsating with energy. The markings on the walls morphed and rearranged, transforming into new patterns, symbols that were more complex, more intricate than before. It was as though the structure itself was alive, responding to their presence, adapting to the trial it had set before them. "We need to stay focused," Sarah murmured, her hand resting on the control panel she had carried with her. "We don't know what we're facing, but we can't afford to be distracted." Zara's bioluminescent form flickered with agreement, her light flickering like a heartbeat. "Indeed, we have come too far to falter now. But I can sense the energy. It is not just physical. There is something deeper, something resonating in the very core of this place." Sarah nodded, her instincts telling her that Zara was right. The energy in the air felt almost alive, as if it were sentient, waiting to respond to their every move. It was a force that was ancient and powerful, something that existed long before either of them had stepped foot on this world. Without warning, the ground beneath them trembled again. The walls shifted again, and the path ahead split into two, a narrow hallway leading to the left and another to the right. The glow of the symbols in the walls flickered, as if in response to their choices. The choices seemed endless, but Sarah knew that they needed to make a decision quickly. The pressure was mounting, and every moment spent in indecision only brought them closer to something far more dangerous. "Which way?" Sarah asked, her voice tight with the weight of the decision. Zara's glowing form hesitated for a moment, her eyes scanning both paths. "The left path," she began, but before she could finish, the floor beneath them rumbled again, this time louder and more violent. The walls seemed to pulse, vibrating with a sudden surge of energy. "Move!" Sarah shouted, grabbing Zara's arm and pulling her toward the right path. The ground beneath them cracked, and a blast of energy surged from the walls, narrowly missing them as they ran. The shockwave sent them both stumbling, but Sarah's grip on Zara never loosened. The moment they turned down the right path, the pressure lifted slightly, but only for a moment. The walls continued to hum with energy, and the air around them seemed charged, almost alive with the promise of something dangerous lurking just ahead. Every step felt like it was being watched, and the oppressive feeling of being trapped in an ancient trial weighed heavier with each passing second. As they continued down the path, the darkness grew deeper, and the only light now came from Zara's bioluminescence. It was a fragile beacon, casting long shadows against the walls of the tunnel. The path twisted, turned, and narrowed, until finally, they reached a large chamber. The floor beneath them was covered in what appeared to be alien runes, etched into the stone in patterns they could not decipher. At the center of the room stood a pedestal, an ancient, ornate structure made of the same shifting material as the walls. It seemed to pulse with energy, and upon closer inspection, Sarah could see that the pedestal was alive with movement, its surface constantly shifting, as if it were breathing. "This is it," Sarah whispered, her voice filled with awe. "This is what we've been searching for." Zara floated closer to the pedestal, her light growing brighter as she examined it. "Yes, but there is something more. It is not just a pedestal. It is a key." "A key?" Sarah repeated, her mind racing to comprehend what she was seeing. Zara's voice was tinged with something that could almost be called wonder. "Yes, I believe it is the key to unlocking the true nature of this place. The structure, it is not just a vessel. It is a living archive, a repository of knowledge that has been waiting for someone worthy to unlock it." Sarah's heart raced. The idea of an archive, a storehouse of ancient knowledge, was enough to make her pulse quicken. But the thought that this key could unlock secrets that had been hidden for millennia, secrets that could change everything they knew about the galaxy, was both exhilarating and terrifying. As Sarah moved toward the pedestal, a low hum filled the room. The air crackled with static, and the symbols on the walls began to glow brighter, responding to their presence. Zara's light flared in a sudden burst of energy, her form pulsing in rhythm with the hum. "Be careful, Sarah," Zara warned, her voice low, filled with a sense of urgency. "This is no ordinary key. It may grant us access to the secrets of the galaxy, but it could also trap us here forever. We must be certain of what we are about to do." Sarah nodded, her fingers hovering over the pedestal's surface. The feeling of being watched returned, stronger than ever. She knew that whatever they were about to unlock, it was far beyond their understanding. "I'm ready," Sarah said, her voice steady, despite the rising fear in her chest. Zara's glow flickered in what seemed like approval. "Then, let us begin." With a deep breath, Sarah pressed her hand against the pedestal. The moment her fingers made contact, the entire room shuddered. The hum grew louder, the walls trembling as if they were about to collapse. But Sarah held her ground, her heart racing as she felt a wave of energy surge through her body, almost overwhelming her senses. It was as if the pedestal had recognized her touch, and in response, the structure began to open, revealing a hidden compartment inside. Within it lay a small crystalline object, pulsing with light, its surface shifting like liquid metal. The moment Sarah touched it, the chamber was filled with a blinding light, and for a brief moment, she lost all sense of time and space. Her mind was overwhelmed by images, flashes of alien worlds, ancient civilizations, and catastrophic events. Visions of the past, present, and future all flooding her consciousness at once. The light was almost unbearable, and for a moment, Sarah feared she might lose herself to it. But then, just as suddenly as it had started, the light faded, and the chamber returned to its eerie silence. Sarah stood there, her hands still resting on the crystalline object. Her mind felt different. She felt as though she had glimpsed the very fabric of the universe, a glimpse of the knowledge hidden within the galaxy, but it was fleeting, like trying to remember a dream that faded as soon as you woke. Zara hovered beside her, her light flickering with concern. "Sarah, are you?" Sarah took a deep breath, her hands still trembling on the pedestal. "I saw so much. Too much." Her mind was racing with the implications of what she had just experienced. The knowledge, the power contained within that object, it was beyond anything she had imagined. And yet, there was a dark undertone to it, something that felt wrong, as though the knowledge she had accessed came with a cost. Zara's voice was quiet, almost reverent. "The key has shown you its secrets, but be wary, Sarah. Such knowledge is not without its price." Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of Zara's words. They had unlocked something ancient, something that could change everything. But it had also awakened something far more dangerous. They had only scratched the surface, and what lay ahead was far from certain. The trial was far from over, and whatever came next would determine not only their fate, but the future of humanity itself.